to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, it's Friday. Not sure if it's Friday highday, but for many of our listeners,
it's always Friday highday. Happy highday to you, Evan, on the board. Our fair audience, it is Friday. We made it, baby.
You know, the sidewalk's quite slick in Madison. The sun's out, but the sidewalk's frozen. Like, there's enough meltage overnight and sort of freezing rain at the end there. Sidewalks are glazy out here. There's a little salt on it, but man, I'm just watching people. Someone's going ass over tea kettle before this show's over. I'll do play-by-play. Hopefully I won't have to do it as the EMTs respond.
Right.
I don't think it's my responsibility, but, you know, like the fact that I could see people through the window falling on their ass, I would blame you for it, Dom.
Come on, you're the one that could actually do something. Just tap on the glass when they're walking by. Hey, be careful out there.
My wife couldn't even walk the dogs this morning. Our dog's problematic. Untrained heathens of dogs.
Yes, I blame the owner.
I blame yes, I do as well, but they're not my dogs. I just have a bad cohabitation deal with them.
So you have other people's dogs sleeping in your bed? Is that how you roll, Crudy? Yeah, all right, good to know, man. Santos will be on his way over soon, I'm sure.
Make the checks up, the puppies. So anyways, a little icy here in Madison, Tom, but the show's going to be red hot, especially with your participation. You know, Dom, we're growing. We're a growing product each and every day. New friends. And here's what I would say. Whether you're a new friend or an old friend, why wouldn't you tell somebody? Tell them about the greatest radio show ever. Help us be a little famouser in our own minds.
Help us help you.
Help you. No, what can you do for the Devil's Advocates? We're here to entertain you. Why would you keep that a secret?
Ask not what the Devil's Advocates can do for you. Ask what you can do for the Devil's Advocates.
Now we're getting somewhere.
All right. I heard something like that before.
The only other creative thing I ever recalled you, seriously, the drinking liberally toast. Here's to you. Here's to me.
Here's to drinking liberally. Yes.
And at the Christmas party this year, I stole it in part. Here's to you. Here's to me. Here's to 2023. I did that on the fly down.
All right. Nice. See, well, sorry, you can use it. I didn't trademark it, like stop the steal. I thought about it, but, didn't.
You know what I often do in my own mind? Well, you don't want to know. Because sometimes it involves you in pain.
Wow, Cruz. You want to talk about it, or you just want to just move on?
I talk about it with my therapist.
Okay.
When you're not around. No, but in my own mind, I so often, like, you'll say something to me, or maybe my wife, or my kids, or maybe even a colleague, client, whatever. And
human interaction.
Yes, during normal human interaction, someone will say something that triggers song lyrics in my head. Does that ever happen to you?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
But do you try to make them play along with you by feeding them back the song lyrics ever? Do you ever, like, as an exercise, you ever, like, see if you can throw a few more bars of that song along and see if they'll
catch on and get it going? Right.
Next thing you know, you got a little Kumbaya sing-along circle going. Don't know why I'm going there, Don, but sometimes I get little songs in my head. That and some voices. Dom, we air the grievances on Friday. The voices I hear in my head sometimes, Dom, it's the callers at 844-967-2789. Because I'm wearing the one earphone. I wear
the voice in your head. That's not God. I just want to be clear.
When God speaks, he speaks through a priest or a rabbi.
Or through me. I mean, why not
Episcopalian,
me? Could I? I mean, I'm speaking to you, man.
Because you don't believe.
Trust me. What? An imperfect vessel, as you would describe, Crudy. I mean, God works in mysterious ways. I mean, who am I to say?
Well, once he strikes you down with lightning, and then raises you back from the dead, then I'll come worship you, beer Jesus. I did have some plan eventually to get to some headlines. I know it's Friday, man. It's been a week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
It's like I hate to jump back in both feet into politics.
Like right away.
Started.
It's the big game this weekend as well. We cannot forget that.
Is there a game this weekend?
There's a big game. Big game. You can't. I'm not sure what the rules are in saying it.
Well, it's not our big game. We're not playing it. Packers didn't even make the playoffs. Now I know how these Vikings fans must have always felt on. And the Bears fans, well, at least the Vikings made it this year, and Detroit fans, sitting out of the playoffs sucks.
Oh, so close though. So close.
And I haven't cared much about the playoffs when the Packers aren't in it. Maybe I watched a game or two, but I'm not like, if my team's in it, then I got to know, how do we stack up against the competition? At least I'm watching the NFC games. At least I think I watched the NFC, and I didn't even watch the Chiefs, dude.
I think the Eagles are favored by 1.5 as it stands right now.
I like Mahomes.
Yeah, I do too.
Come on, man. You got to take the other side, beat the devil's ass.
Well, I can't. I mean, Kutchka took the Eagles and beat me last time, so I got to bet against the Eagles this time to try to get even. So now I'm a little angry with the Eagles because they disappointed me by winning.
Damn Eagles. So I'm unclear. Are you rooting against or betting against or for or against?
I'm rooting against the Eagles, which makes me for KC. And Mahomes got the MVP this year, so good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Do you think Packers? I assume Aaron Rodgers was Packers MVP, but will he be back? Will we ever see that man?
What I see, 4 days of darkness.
He's going on an ayahuasca trip. Isn't that how you make all your big life decisions? You go,
it's hard to say. Sometimes I just meet him at Summerfest. Everyone has.
It's going to involve alcohol for you, though, isn't it?
Everyone has their own path to tread, and sometimes they create a different path. So there's no right or wrong way to make those kinds of decisions.
Wouldn't include ayahuasca.
I mean, it might. Who's the judge?
I am. I'm judging him. This is me judging. It wouldn't be my chosen way of.
No, you're more of a mushroom guy. I mean, what are you talking about?
Except that one time at Coon Creek, I made one significant bad decision under the influence of hallucinogenics, although it was a hell of a good time. Is a lifelong memory worth the pain of 21 days in jail and 2 months of house arrest and 2 years of probation? And
it was a fun time. I mean, I had a good time too. I didn't know you at the time, Crudy, when you were busy with your other ruffian friends.
Let me tell you,
flipping that cop car over. I was right behind you, and although I was not involved, I saw it right there. I could have reached out and joined, but I didn't. And I still had a really good time that night. It's very memorable.
I was here to amuse you.
Yeah.
Dom, were we going to talk about the president, or were we going to talk about the president trolling your buddy, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson? Have you ever been trolled? You ever been trolled by the White House?
Rojo, he's figuring it out.
Rojo's been trolled. And the craziest part about it, and it's a little interesting. I found a piece over at the Urban Milwaukee, but this originally published our friend Sean Johnson at Wisconsin Public Radio. No relation to Ron Johnson, Sean Johnson. Senator Johnson wants annual votes on Social Security. And in the State of the Union address, President Joe Biden Tuesday night called out some of the Republicans, and then he pulled them in as a group. I mean, I got a Republican buddy that said that was the most masterful thing he had ever seen when Joe Biden lured the entire Republican caucus in mass to stand up and agree to the preservation of Social Security and Medicare, even though there are at least a handful of, Republican prominent party members that have advocated.
Mike Lee, senator from Utah, Rick Scott, senator from Florida, specifically.
And of course, Ron Johnson. And our buddy, President Joe Biden, I'd like to call him a friend. I would if he'd come around on this fine radio show. 844-967-2789. Joe should have called us when you were in town. Now he's the host. Now he's got the governor's convention going on. Tony Evers out in D.C. hanging out with Joe Biden this weekend. But back to Rojo, right? So Rojo didn't like being trolled. And when Joe Biden came to our backyard, DeForest, Wisconsin, on Wednesday, sort of the follow-up trip to the State of the Union, started calling out our buddy Rojo.
Yeah, it was Biden's victory lap, man. He's still going. He had to clear his throat. He had to clear his throat before he mentioned his name.
He did. He did. And Ron Johnson said, you know what he says about me, none of that's true. None of that's true. And then he went running out to Righty Whitey Talk Radio. And the accusation against Ron Johnson is, he wants to put Social Security and Medicare up for a vote every year. Because governance is not contentious enough. Let's make grandma and grandpa have to, their existence hinges on the partisan good governance between these two parties. That's Ron Johnson's plan. Of course, he wants to blow it up, right? But if Joe Biden says he wants to blow it up, then he calls Joe Biden a liar. And no, I didn't say that. But then he went on right-wing talk radio.
And he said it.
Well, that was the secret. Now you're kind of giving away the punchline. But the president felt like he had to troll Ron Johnson. I think Ron earned the trolling. Come back. More Devils.
I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football.
Man, come on. I had a rough night, and I hate the Eagles, man.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
The Republican Party on a national level, how many years did they investigate Hillary and Bill? They're still going to that.
They're still looking for emails, right? But they don't look in the Trump septic tank for half the top secret classified documents that he was flushing during his term. When one party doesn't care about governing, just don't allow anything to happen when the Democrats are in charge. And then they think the American people are going to get boonswoggled into voting Republican again.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 16 tonight. Under clear skies, southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunny skies and calm tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 38. Clear skies and quiet again tomorrow night. Lows level off around 22. Dry with temps a bit above average Sunday and Monday, and highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 32 degrees.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all. You can always join us at the political party at 844-967-2789.
Dom, we asked the very important question this Friday afternoon. Have you ever been trolled by the president? Here is how U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, Dom's buddy, responded. According to the reporting at the Urban Milwaukee Online Daily, Sean Johnson A day after he was called out by President Joe Biden, Wisconsin U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, reiterated his support for taking annual votes on funding Medicare and Social Security, calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme in the process. The back and forth followed Biden's State of the Union address Tuesday when he attacked Republicans for endangering the programs, prompting many GOP lawmakers to heckle the president. Liar, liar, boo, liar. You know how it went, Tom. It also reinforced Johnson's status as a political lightning rod in Wisconsin, a state where he was narrowly reelected. Anybody count that vote? I think we need a recount. Where he was narrowly reelected to the U.S. Senate just 3 months ago, and where if he seeks another term, it would be 6 years before he's on the ballot again. And the exchange between Biden and Republicans this week was reminiscent of one that took place last August during the final months of Johnson's 2022 Senate campaign. Under federal law, Medicare and Social Security are known as mandatory spending, meaning their funding is automatically renewed each year. Johnson called for change in all that, arguing their funding should be voted on each year by Congress along with the rest of the budget. He re-upped the position in January as Republicans were sparring with Biden over raising the nation's debt limit, telling reporters that when it comes to the budget, lawmakers should look at everything every year. That was a direct quote, Tom. And during an event at a union training center in DeForest Wednesday, Biden called out Johnson, repeating his everything every year comment as Biden remarked, "Come on, man.
Come on, man."
Supporters booed. In a statement to Fox News, Johnson accused Biden of lying about him. But in an interview with Righty Whitey Talk Radio in Milwaukee Thursday morning, Johnson stood by his plan.
Of course he did.
Saying it was time to change the way that Medicare and Social Security are funded. Here's the quote from Rojo. "We got to put everything on budget, so we're forced to prioritize spending. That doesn't mean putting it on the chopping block. That doesn't mean cutting Social Security, but it does mean prioritizing."
What does that mean? Put everything on the budget, so we're forced to prioritize. Doesn't mean putting it on the chopping block. Doesn't mean cutting. It means prioritizing. Well, if it doesn't mean cutting, and you're not putting it on the chopping block, why bring it up for a vote every year? I mean, if you're going to prioritize it, wouldn't you think? I mean, if you're literally going to do this, what the number one thing as the servants of the citizens would you do is to make damn sure that the seniors know how much money they're going to get next month or next year? I mean, that's a priority. So let's assume this huge program is the priority. Priority number one. Okay, good. It's not on the chopping block. You're not cutting it. It's priority number one. So why even go through the exercise?
Why for Johnson? Well, of course, because Johnson, as he is quoted here again, says it's a legal Ponzi scheme, echoing an argument he first made in the 2010 Senate campaign. I mean, dude, that was 12, 13 years ago. Johnson, Rojo, he ain't changing, Dom. Still thinks Social Security is a legal Ponzi scheme. And just think, the guy doesn't even what? He probably gets capped on his senatorial wage at Social Security, right? He pays up to 136 grand or whatever it is, gets capped, and that's all he's got to pay. And if he gets millions of dollars, you know, as an industrialist private citizen, Dom, doesn't pay any Social Security on that. And Ron Johnson's rich enough. I mean, the plane used tax breaks to buy 3 private jets. When he got that kind of money laying around in the Rojo family, compound, well, maybe you don't care about Social Security. Then your priorities are, let's call it, tax cuts for private jets and rich people. As he often brags about shepherding through and what? The Trump tax
He
cuts.
did it for you, Crudy. Also,
he did
the
it for
Raw,
me.
the Raw story reporting that Biden's White House pushed quickly back against a tweet shared by Fox News featuring remarks made by a Republican lawmaker. According to the HuffPost, the news networks also featured a link to a report accusing Biden White House of tripling down on the president's State of the Union claim that some Republicans want to cut Social Security. Responding to the Fox News report, the White House pointed to remarks from Senator Ron Johnson. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, in radio interviews today, said that Social Security was a legal Ponzi scheme and that Social Security should have been privatized. In the audio clip that the White House featured, the Republican lawmaker could be heard saying, quote, "That's why I talked about for the first time around 2010, I just laid out the reality of Social Security. It's a legal Ponzi scheme. I mean, it is. It's a pay-as-you-go system." Later in the day, the lawmaker encouraged the idea of privatizing Social Security. Privatizing Social Security, he said. That was like the worst thing in the world. Well, had we done it back then, Social Security might be in a more stable position for younger workers. This comes as concerns loom about the Social Security in America, according to a report shared by the SSA. As a result of changes to the Social Security enacted in 1883, benefits are now expected to be payable in full on a timely basis until 2037. At that point, when the reserves are used up, continuing taxes are expected to pay about 76% of the scheduled benefits. But there's things that we can do, that we should do, certainly, like, raise the cap. I mean, come on. Were you concerned, Republicans, about the tax cuts for Donald Trump that we just referenced, for allowed guys to get 3 planes? You know what I'm saying? What that cost? $1, $2, $3 trillion over 10 years? I didn't hear you complaining about it then, but now it's a problem.
Well, they did that for the job creators, Tom. They don't want to do squat for just working class people. That's not how that works. If you want to see real change, just go hire a lobbyist on K Street and send them down to Rojo's office. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
Thanks for listening to your local Civic Media radio station. Learn more on our website, civicmedia.us.
ABC News, I'm Morgan Norwood. A high-altitude object has been shot down off the coast of Alaska. National Security spokesperson John Kirby says once the military determined it was unmanned, the president ordered it shot down.
We do expect to be able to recover the debris since it fell not only within our territorial space, but on what we believe is frozen water. So a recovery effort will be made.
The U.S. didn't say if it belongs to China. It does come as military dive crews off the coast of South Carolina are working to recover their surveillance payload from the downed China spy balloon. Recovery efforts resume Monday. ABC News has learned federal agents recovered 1 document with classified markings and 6 additional pages without any markings at the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence. A Pence spokesperson says the search was agreed to and lasted 5 hours. This is ABC News.
From the Devil's Advocates to the Cripes Cast with Charlie Barron.
You want a hot dog? You're not invited to my cookout. That's for guys who aren't sure. We're doing brats.
This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Students at the University of Wisconsin in Madison who qualify for Pell Grants will have the cost of rooms, meals, and other fees covered. Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin made the announcement at yesterday's Board of Regents meeting. The Pell Pathway program is only available to students from Wisconsin. No state money will be used. Democrats are still pushing to replace Elections Commissioner Bob Spindell. All 11 Democrats in the state Senate sent a letter to Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu last week. They object to Spindell's comments after the November election, praising lower voter turnout in minority districts in Milwaukee. In sports, the Bucks beat the Lakers last night 115-106. Earlier yesterday, the Bucks got former Marquette star Jay Crowder in a 4-team trade. Milwaukee sent point guard George Hill to Indianapolis. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Civic Media promised you something big to celebrate our new and still growing network of radio stations. When we announced the one-day $1 million advertising giveaway for Wisconsin businesses, you responded.
Just wanted to echo your sentiments about the advertising. That's really a cool deal and really remarkable.
$1 million of free advertising. Now, if you missed this chance to work with our team, go to civicmedia.us and click on the sponsorship tab. One of our local sales pros will get right back to you. civicmedia.us and sponsorship.
Madison liberals want to take over the Wisconsin Supreme Court to impose their radical agenda on us. Now more than ever, we need a proven conservative on the Supreme Court with a record of results. Wisconsin needs conservative Justice Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly is a constitutional conservative who will always protect our rights and freedoms. That's why he cast the deciding vote to end the COVID lockdowns of our schools and businesses. Sheriffs across Wisconsin have endorsed Dan Kelly because he has a record of enforcing the rule of law. One vote is the difference between a conservative or liberal majority on Wisconsin's Supreme Court. That's why Dan Kelly needs your vote. On February 21st, stop a liberal takeover of the court. Vote for law and order. Vote conservative Dan Kelly for Wisconsin Supreme Court. Fair Courts America paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate's agent or committee. faircourtsamerica.org.
You've got questions about navigating the healthcare system? Kristen Lyerly helps us find answers and discusses other issues at the intersection of healthcare and politics. Hometown Health, Thursday mornings at 7:30 on Up North News Radio.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates. Can't really talk along with the beat of that one. Welcome back. It's the Friday edition, Dom. Did you hear that sweet, sweet, dark money Dan Kelly ad during the commercial break?
Yeah, I threw up a little bit in the back of my throat. Burns, little biles.
He is the only real and true conservative, Dom. And I think if you are of the real and true conservative persuasion, you should consider voting for Dan Kelly on February 21st. I'd really like to see our audience help lift this man up a bit.
No. What? No.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Why? Because I mean, this is a primary, right? There's 4 people running. The top 2 go through. Yes. If you play that kind of game, then people who would normally vote for one of the non-conservatives, Protasevich or Mitchell, would then could potentially put 2 conservatives through. No, don't play those kind of games, man.
Okay, no game playing. No name calling, no game playing. Vote your conscience. But if, a guy like CJ or Gary from Sussex.
Sure.
Maybe even Dave from Mequon were listening.
Some of our conservative friends out there.
If they were, so inclined to vote conservative, then I think they should vote for the real conservative, Dan Kelly, and help lift him up in the primary. You've got your marching orders. Dom, the obscene money's just starting to roll in on that race.
I know, man. What a great segue.
Wisconsin Supreme Court race is expected to top a record $6 million in spending, and that's just for the primary. That's coming in like 2 weeks, Tom. Wisconsin the officially nonpartisan Supreme Court race is getting big money from outside interest groups, leading to record spending in one of the hotly contested races in the country. And with less than 2 weeks to go, Wisconsin Supreme Court candidates and outside groups are expected to pay out more than $6 million by the February 21st primary, already eclipsing 2020's record for a judicial race before the campaigns have even reached the general election. Right. Just while they're sorting out who the candidate of the left and the right might be. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel compiled spending data from several sources that track media buys and found that as of today, candidates and outside groups have spent $5.5 million in the primary race, in a nonpartisan race. And mostly they're just talking trash about each other, Dom. I see an anti-Doro ad. It's chasing me down the page digitally here. One source said spending will cross the $6 million mark by the primary and is likely to top $7 million. This includes money being spent on TV, radio, and digital ads, as well as mailers and social media. Spending, Dom, has dramatically increased over the past 20 years. In 2003, then Supreme Court Justice Patience Rogensack squared off against Barron County Circuit Judge Ed Bruner. Outside groups paid out all of $27,000 in independent expenditures. Now the money's pouring in. Conservative Waukesha County Judge Jennifer Doro and former Supreme Court Judge, I hate that they call him that, never won the race. He was a wanker appointee Dan Kelly and liberal Dane County Judge Everett Mitchell and Milwaukee County Judge Janet Protasewicz vie for Rogensack's seat. Rogensack, a conservative, is retiring. The top two finishers, as Dom mentioned, on February 21, advanced to the general election.
Crudy, our pal Matt Rothschild, the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, well, he follows the money. Here's what he had to say. Outside interest groups are suffocating us under an avalanche of spending, so the voice of average citizens are drowned out by multimillionaires and billionaires who are able to run ads. Why should someone who lives in California, New York, or Nebraska tell us who should sit on our Supreme Court? Crudy, where is the money coming from?
Where's the money coming from, Dom?
Fair Courts America, a super PAC underwritten by billionaire and GOP mega donor Richard Uihlein, is spending $1.79 million, and that group is backing Kelly.
You've heard those ads very recently right here. Dom, just for the record, that's just across the border down there in Fibland.
Fair Courts America. Another group, the liberal group, A Better Wisconsin Together, spending $1.22 million on ads attacking Doro. Protasewicz, who has raised far more money. Yes.
Note that. The liberal group, A Better Wisconsin Together, is supporting Dan Kelly effectively, is lifting Dan Kelly through suppressing voters for Doro, or at least that's the hope. Let's hope the eventual, let's call it liberal nominee doesn't come up $1 million too short in their TV buy in general.
Right. Protasewicz, who has raised more money than her foes, is spending $1 million. Wisconsin Alliance for Reform, led by conservative Eric O'Keefe. Eric O'Keefe is spending $520,000, and Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, the state's business lobby, is paying out $250,000 on the same ads attacking Protasewicz, a source said.
So you see what's happening here, and I don't mean you, Dom. You're somewhat shrewd. How about the audience, in case they were driving down the road and not paying attention? We've got outside money coming in from the Uihleins supporting Dan Kelly. We've got outside liberal money coming in attacking Jennifer Doro. And we've got Protasewicz, who's outraised all three of her opponents cumulatively. But that's only $1 million. There's 6 times what she's raised being expended by outside groups in the very same race. And then, Dom, there's some, some of the most unsavory sorts like Eric O'Keefe. And when I say unsavory, I mean they helped corrupt the Wisconsin electoral process by giving corrupted funds to Scott Walker in a coordinated fashion that was illegal when they were doing it, and then kind of buying their way to freedom, or at least out of civil forfeiture action, by going around on right-wing talk radio and breaking the gag order of the judge.
No, that was when he was with Wisconsin Club for Growth, right? This is a different organization, apparently. Now,
talking about Eric O'Keefe?
Yes.
Same guy.
Same
Doesn't
guy.
matter
No, I get it.
Up.
Same guy, new LLC, new 501c3, whatever it is.
Well, this is small fry. This is small potatoes compared to the $24 million, I believe, that he helped funnel in illegal third-party coordinated spending to Scott Walker's benefit during the recall campaign.
Yeah, this is chump change compared. He's done this before. He knows
this is little dollars. I mean, they're just crapping on Protasewicz, presumably to raise up Everett Mitchell, who they see as the weaker of the two Liberal candidates. So the Liberals attack Doro, hoping to raise up Kelly. You've heard me a couple of times.
Because they consider Kelly, as you do,
Yes.
Kelly is the weaker, worse candidate.
The very beatable candidate. I would love to see Kelly win the primary for the conservative bloc. And I think Protasewicz has the financial advantage. I haven't heard, and, you know, I like Everett Mitchell a lot. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Very, very earnest guy. And I like him in this candidacy. But if I haven't heard your ads running, it's hard to believe he's going to have a fighting chance. The anti-Protasewicz ads aren't for the benefit of Everett Mitchell. They're just to suppress the Protasewicz vote. Only ads I've seen that I've really liked so far. Have you seen the new Protasewicz can't say her name ads?
Yes, I have. Yeah. That was one of the first ones there she ran out. Right? I mean, I think those have been out for a while.
You know, maybe a week, if you mean for a while, maybe a week. But I think they were amongst probably the first 3 or 4 campaign ads I saw roll out. But if you've got that difficult name, Tom, and, you know, all names are sometimes difficult for me, but
for you, for sure.
I learned her name pretty early on, but I think a lot of people struggle to vote for someone if they can't say their name. And Protasewicz is not an easy name to say.
Yeah, but this is Wisconsin, you know, and she's leaning into it, you know, as evidenced
Well,
by
they are.
the
I think
campaign.
they're great
And
ads.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's very shrewd. I think it's very clever. A, it raises her name awareness. B, it shows maybe she's got a sense of humor. And C, it gives you permission to not be able to say Protasewicz, yet still go out and fill in the little circle on the ballot because they need you. They're going to need more voters than those that know how to say her name properly, Dom. If she's got to go on those that can pronounce Protasewicz,
Right.
she's done. Dan Kelly, on the other hand, benefit of a short, crisp, white nationalist Christian name. It's actually not the Dan Kelly part. It's the fact I strongly suspect the Regent College alumni certificate tells me he's the white nationalist guy, Dom. But they both got that.
Just a little bit more here from the reporting. I believe this is Corey Hess, Daniel Bice at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Comparing to 2020, outside spending reached a record high of $5 million in 2020 in the race between Karofsky and Kelly, a conservative who was then the incumbent. In that race, the Better Wisconsin Together spent $1.9 million, Wisconsin Manufacturers $1.1, a few others here. That record will now be broken. Matt Rothschild concludes, says the problem with this much outside money and the influence it comes with, Supreme Court should be deciding some of the biggest cases facing Wisconsin, including state election maps and abortion law. Rothschild's quote, there is a problem of corruption. These big donors throw money around and they have access to someone who holds a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Yes, they do. But I would also mention, I mean, this is being done on the federal level too. Isn't there this kind of thing happening with the U.S. Supreme Court? You get access. You got little parties going on.
Well, that's something different than actually directly electing Supreme Court members, Tom. I mean, if you're
the moneyed influence still remains.
Well, when you specifically need someone's money to help you get elected, it perhaps is even more persuading as opposed to a lifetime presidential executive appointment, which doesn't require you to raise any capital unless you're paying off, you know, Brett Kavanaugh's gambling debts, apparently.
Apparently.
Where's the money being spent, Tom? Not enough of it around here, but little something.
Just a little bit.
One source tracking TV and radio buys said roughly half of the spending so far has been in the Milwaukee media market.
And perhaps the Protasewicz ads, because I've seen them more than a week ago, so they may have been here earlier.
The most efficient way to reach the largest number of voters from both parties, the source said. The Madison has a large number of voters, but few conservatives. It doesn't keep Dan Kelly from running ads on the former Devil Radio, did it, Dom? And the Green Bay market is pretty evenly divided, but has fewer voters. You know, not entirely true. It's a bigger media market than Madison-Dane County. The Fox Valley. That's why we're on WGBW and WISS. That's why we care a lot about the Fox
sure.
Valley.
I mean, but you go from Green Bay down to the Fox Valley, which could be down to Neenah. I mean, that's a big range. I mean, Green Bay is somewhat separate from the Fox Valley, Neenah, Appleton, Kaukauna, that area, and then down to Oshkosh. It's it's not all the same spot.
It's the number 62 media market in the nation, and if you want to buy one TV station, guess what? You're covering all those areas, and you're paying one very expensive ad rate. Here's a quote from Doro, Dom, from Waukesha. She's complaining about the amount of money being dropped by super PACs. We're opposing her candidacy. It's never been more clear that Judge Jennifer Doro is the only candidate who can beat the liberal special interest groups in April and stop the left's efforts to remake Wisconsin via judicial fiat. According to Amber Schroeder, Judge Doro's campaign manager, the amount of spending by both sides has ratcheted up significantly in the days after she issued this statement.
And the conservative Dan Kelly has not committed to voting for Judge Jennifer Doro should she come out on top of the Republican side, the conservative side, although she has committed that she would vote for him.
Well, endorse.
Thank you.
And, after Hagedorn burned him by showing a little judicial independence them after he endorsed Hagedorn, well, fool me once, shame on me.
Learn that lesson, right?
Fool me twice, won't get fooled again. Come back, more Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Your calls could be next. 844-96-PARTY.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Jake from Milwaukee, you get the last word this hour.
Okay, well, Trump is totally innocent. But it's obvious that George Soros, Nancy Pelosi, BLM, with Antifa, and then Hillary's emails, Hunter Biden's laptop, gas, high, Afghanistan, cut and run. I rest my case, Truth.
What about Benghazi, Jake? You forgot Benghazi.
I forgot Benghazi. I'm sorry. And Benghazi, I rest my case.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Clear skies tonight with a low of 16. Southwest winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Daytime highs approaching 38. Tomorrow, sunny skies and calm. Clear skies and quiet again tomorrow night. Lows level off around 22. Dry with temperatures above average Sunday and Monday, and highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 32 degrees.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Phone lines are open. 844-967-2789. Let's get to them. Mike from Sheboygan, you are up. Welcome, Mike. Happy Friday, man. What do you got for us?
If Wisconsinites can remember on Fat Tuesday, 21 February, that they got to go out and get their punchkis, potchkis, or wherever they spell that darn Polish bakery that's probably not too healthy for us, but very good.
So good. Yeah.
If they can do it all the way from Pulaski to St. Paul and wherever town down south starts with a P, they can remember Janet Protasevich. Punchki, Fat Tuesday. I'm in. I think her spot is good. I think she's right to work on her name, and I think the next time I see a Punchki or a Botchki or whatever you call them, I'm going to think of her.
You can't even say it. You can't. You don't even know what they're
You're
called.
telling me how to pronounce. You're telling me how to pronounce foreign names. That's a good one.
I'm not saying I know how it's pronounced. I'm just saying you don't know how it's pronounced either. That thing I don't know how to say reminds me of that woman. I don't know how to say her name.
Yeah, but you know how to eat them.
Punchkis. Protosewich. I got you, Mike. I'm following you, brother.
Punchki Protosewich. There you go.
Hey, man, thanks. Best to Annalise. Love you guys up there. 844-967-2789.
Calling from
CJ.
Schmingy land.
CJ, you're up. Happy Friday. What do you got for us today?
Hey, CJ.
Happy Friday, guys. I first want to apologize. You guys did have the NAD to run the response from Governor Sanders, and yeah,
We accept your apology, CJ.
Wasn't it amazing?
No, it was kind of weird and
you
terrible, and she's a
aware-
big fat liar, so no, I didn't really like it, CJ.
I really regret that we gave any air coverage whatsoever. I mean, dude, you know that was just weird. What she running for governor of America from Arkansas? I mean, what was the purpose?
It was better than the president telling us we might need oil for the next decade. The man is brilliant. He's just amazing.
But he lured your whole
oil.
dumbass party in on Social Security, buddy.
Land, man.
CJ, do you believe? Let's talk about the Social Security for a second. CJ, Social Security. It seemed like the Republicans agreed with President Joe Biden that it should be off the books. It should not be up for negotiation. Do you concur?
Well, right now, the mere fact that your party denies the fact that it's going to go in the red in 11 years.
No, that's not true. I mean, we talked about it. So, but you're not giving me your opinion. I'm asking for your opinion. Do you think that's something that should be off the books, as they all stood up and clapped?
I think it is. As far as, do you think it should shut the government down? No. But, the mere fact that it is going to go into the red, even, what is it, Earl Ingram's show on Sandy says that it has to be addressed. Do you guys agree that it's
Sure, raise the cap, CJ.
Okay.
Raise the
problem
cap,
solved.
CJ.
What's your solution then?
Raise the cap.
Yes, we just told you. You can raise the cap, CJ. You concur. You're down with that? You fine with that?
There's lots of solutions. I guess
That's
I'm
the
thrilled
most
that you guys
obvious.
actually-
Dude, I mean, we don't need empirical. Dude, here's the
You
deal.
might have a projected solution. I'm really proud of you.
We've always had this solution.
Listen, of course this is coming up, and thanks for the call, CJ. And I appreciate you. You seem fairly honest on this, man. I take you at your word. But yes, raising the cap. CNBC. This is a little study they did from last year, August of 2022. Here's what they say about what could be done and what people agree on. Raising the Social Security payroll cap. Supported by 81%, Democrats by 88%, and Republicans 79%. Raising the cap. In 2022, payroll taxes applied are up to $147,000. You could raise the cap. We could raise the cap and make lots of money towards that. Reducing benefits for high earners, like guys like Ron Johnson with his 3 jets. Maybe he doesn't need, quote unquote, they can reduce it for him. Support of that, 86% of Democrats support that. 78% of Republicans support that. So there's a couple of things you could do. You could increase the payroll tax.
Come on, man.
You could do.
You're not being fair to Ron Johnson and the very wealthy Johnson family. Of course, they don't need 3 jets. They need the tax breaks on 3 jets, which allow them to basically invest capital in 3 jets and then lease out that time as a money-making venture. You see what I mean? It's not the jets. It's not that they need 3 jets, although it's always nice to have at least.
The jets are the facilitator to the money. Yes.
Yes. It's just like when George W. Bush threw out their gross vehicle, 6,000-pound gross vehicle weight for a rapid depreciation. If you went and bought a big SUV, you get $25,000 off your taxes this year. Guess what I was driving by the end of that year, Dom? I think it was a Toyota Sequoia at the time. It weighed over 6,000 pounds, man. It's just playing the tax policies.
Well, and that's okay, but listen, and it's guys like CJ. Listen, were you bringing this up? Were the Republicans bringing this up when they passed Trump's tax cuts, right? That were not paid for. Well, of course, to the tune of trillions of dollars. So now, if you go back, you want to look back at all the tax cuts, for example, right? If you didn't do that, where would we be right now? You know what I mean? So there are things that have been done that contribute to where we are right now. I mean, there are legacy decisions that have impact today. And there's no question about it. But if we want to address this, number one, it should not be during the negotiation for the debt ceiling. That's asinine. That should not happen, right? You're not going to put the world economy in the tank because of it. But then you have to come up with, listen, there's revenue and there's expenses. And you can mess with the formulas. You can raise the cap. Between those three things, you could do a spreadsheet and figure it out.
Hey, Dom, you know what one of my favorite things was?
What?
During the Trump administration. If I was a rich guy and I didn't actually want to pay any taxes, they had these things called opportunity zones. We got 3 right here in Madison, Wisconsin. There's a corridor on East Wash. There's one on the north side. Hell, there's one on the west side over by Odana Hills Golf Course. And if you invest capital gains in the opportunity zone, why are you paying cap gains? Because you paid $1 million for something and now it's worth $2 million. And the government normally would get 15%. But if you said, but I'm investing my cap gains in an opportunity zone, well, you could defer 85% of your cap gains. So let's say you invested $1 million, that 150,000, pardon me, what would it be? Like 150 grand in cap gains?
Mm-hmm.
You could defer 85% of that for 7 years. But here's the really sweet deal. You don't pay any capital gains on your capital gains. So if your $1 million turned into $100 million, you never pay cap gains on that. See why the rich get richer and guys like you and I work in radio? You just need billions in investable capital. It will turn out just fine, Dom. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates, giving you financial advice.
Not really.
On the radio.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And we're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app.
The Devil's Advocates.
I am not Alex Jones.
But you play him on the radio.
And we are back. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you don't call us right now in this last segment at 844-967-2789, you're a filthy communist and you are supporting the enemy.
That's a reasonable impersonation of Alex.
All right.
But,
I got to work on it.
You lack the proper intensity. It's got to be more angry.
I need to be a little bit closer to a heart attack.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Madison, tune in every weekday from 11 to 2 on Mad Radio 92.7 FM, WMDX 1580 AM for the Tom Harpin Program. Join the show's conversations because our democracy is not a spectator sport. Mad Radio, Madison's.
You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. U.S. officials tell ABC News ground radar spotted a high-altitude object over Alaska airspace last night. The Pentagon's Brigadier General Pat Ryder said once fighter pilots determined it was unmanned, President Biden ordered it shot down.
No indication at this time that it was maneuverable, but again, we'll know more. And in terms of entering the United States, it did enter U.S. airspace, and we took it down.
The U.S. says it was smaller than China's spy balloon shot down last week and have not said if the object belongs to China. President Biden at the White House calling the operation a success. He's meeting with Brazil's newly elected president for talks on expanding trade. The FBI wrapped up its consensual search of the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence today. ABC News has learned federal agents recovered one document with classified markings. The U.S. ramping up humanitarian aid to Turkey and Syria following Monday's earthquake. Total deaths now over 23,000. This is ABC News. With just days to go before Sunday's Super Bowl game, there's tight security around the stadium in Arizona.
Over 1,700 cameras, 800 of them right around the stadium, will be feeding real-time intelligence to a command center packed full of law enforcement on game day. Glendale, Arizona Police Chief Chris Briggs says video will be feeding in from helicopters and elsewhere.
We will be getting those downlinks, and then we also have a lot of other cameras out there that will be able to monitor the fans, the crowd movement, the traffic, and just keep our eyes on everything that's going on.
Using artificial intelligence, the systems can alert the command center to unusual behavior being seen on cameras. He says the goal is to keep events safe, but to allow fans to have fun. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Another sign of a changing response to the pandemic, Johns Hopkins University is shutting down its coronavirus tracker early next month. The site, one of the first to track real-time cases, that activity has been considered critical to alerting officials of possible surges. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Spending time on air at 92.7 megahertz frequency modulation and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
Your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected on the Civic Media Network, civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair. Here's what you need to know. Wisconsin's veterans could be getting more support if Governor Evers' 2023-25 budget is approved. The initiatives include millions in tax relief for veterans and surviving spouses and expands property tax credits to vets who rent their homes. It will also provide funding for mental health and educational needs. The governor's budget will be released to the GOP-controlled legislature February 15th. The Finance Committee then revises it before the budget returns to the Senate and Assembly for their approval. 13 cheese and dairy manufacturers from central Wisconsin are competing against dairy makers from 35 states at the 2023 U.S. Championship Cheese Contest, February 21st through the 23rd in Green Bay. The nationally renowned competition gives dairy companies and cooperatives the chance to improve their products, reach new customers, and vie for the coveted title of champion. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News.
Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm Charlie Barons, inviting you to join me Saturdays and or Sundays at noon. It's a horse apiece, whatever you decide. We're doing the Cripes Cast, where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and it's more fun than a six-pack of Jolly Good. Okay, the pride of Random Lake, that Jolly Good is. Anyway, it's on your Civic Media station and the Civic Media app. And do me a favor, tell your folks I says hi. Okay, real good.
Hey, we got a big Wisconsin Supreme Court race this spring, and whoever wins will have a huge say over your freedom to vote, your freedom to make healthcare decisions, your freedom to have fair representation. So please listen to the advice from Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez of our Milwaukee Bucks, and make sure you vote in the primary on February 21st.
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I want you to make sure you register to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
I think I know why.
They're worried about our power.
So they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
So please register to vote and get out to vote. Just go to myvote.wi.gov.
myvote.wi.gov.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, WisDC.org, which is solely responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Solidarity Realty.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, the happier happy hour. Dom, we made it all the way to the weekend, buddy.
Good job, Crudy. Good to be with you, man.
That is, each and every week. If I make it all the way to the weekend, I like to celebrate on Friday night.
Hell, I start Thursday because I can make it through a Friday, man. Party starts Thursday.
Well, okay, but we're here on Friday, so can we celebrate today as well?
Sure, of course.
Sort of make it a 2-day affair. 844-967-2789. Airing of the grievances. Welcome. Hell, it's encouraged. Lightly screened by E-Bone, if he's paying attention. But he's paying attention. I'm teasing. Here is my grievance, Dom. These freaking spy balloons, man. They're everywhere. The breaking headline. Fighter jet shoots down object over U.S. waters. This apparently another spy balloon, Tom, over Alaska. The object, which was about the size of a small car, and I read that, a small car, like we measure things and, is that like a small mid-size or like a smart car? Because a smart car...
You're renting a car. Is that the small car? I guess, yes, it's a small car, man. It's small car. Less than 6,000 pounds.
Smaller than a Pinto. The object, which was about the size of a small car, was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet over Alaska.
Oof. Too close for comfort, man.
What did Sarah Palin used to say? When those fighter jets, well, she didn't speak Western, but she said something. And when those fighter jets come ducking in over Alaska, that's pooty poot. And I could see it from my house. Do you think Sarah Palin spotted this balloon from her house? Do you think she was trying to shoot it down, Dom?
It's entirely possible.
I know over on Fox News, they're going to lose their mind about this, Tom. Joe probably should have known about this and shot it down before it even took off the ground.
Washington Post reporting on this as well. Apparently, President Biden directed this strike. Pardon me. The Pentagon recommended downing the object because it was soaring at about 40,000 feet, potentially threatening civilian air traffic. It was taken down over frozen territorial waters off the coast of northeastern Alaska, north of the Arctic Circle. We're still trying to learn more from it, Kirby said. I want to stress again, we don't know what the entity owns this object. There's no indication it's from a nation or an institution or an individual. Whether the object was capable of surveillance, Kirby said the United States has not ruled anything in or out. Biden was first notified of the object on Thursday night after fighter aircraft were dispatched to observe it more closely. Its speed and small size, coupled with the nighttime darkness, left military commanders with few easy options upon initial intercept. Fighter aircraft were dispatched again on Friday when it was determined the craft did not have a pilot on board. They worked really hard to try to get as much information as they could about this object, Kirby said. It was difficult for the pilots to glean a whole lot of information. Shoot down carried out by a pair of F-22 Raptors launched from Anchorage.
Do you think the pilot's call sign was Maverick?
Maverick. Goose. So another one shot down. Kirby, final thought here. We are going to remain vigilant about the skies over the United States. As I said earlier, the president takes his obligations to protect our national security interest, and those of us in the safety and security of the American people is paramount. And he's always going to decide and act in a way that is commensurate with that duty.
You said duty.
So another object shot down. So what number one, I did see some reporting about some previous what you don't call them UFOs anymore. They're unidentified aerial phenomena. So totally different. I mean,
I'm calling them Chinese spy balloons.
That was so back in the day, but now it's all official. It's unidentified aerial phenomena. That maybe they have in the past one of these balloons or more than one were misidentified as this unidentified aerial phenomena. Now this thing shot down the sides of a car. We'll have to wait and see. But a couple of thoughts. Number one, if this is from China again, after the first four, or how many who knows how many they're letting up and out there, right? We don't know over the course of how many years this has been going on. So what happens to the relationship? I did see some headlines about, the calls, the direct line between U.S. and China is going unanswered. It's just ringing.
Man, you're acting like we just caught China cheating on us on the Ring doorbell or something. And China's been getting away with it up until now. But now that we know that China's cheating on us, now we're quite hurt about it. Well, come on, man. As Joe Biden would say, come on, man. How much effort, thought, energy am I supposed to put into spy balloons? My understanding is we do know they were spy balloons. We know that they were trying to track communications. But
spy balloons, spy planes, spy satellites. Yes, the nations use spying techniques on their friends and adversaries alike.
If I learned nothing else from the Trump administration, encryption apps.
Yeah.
Encryption
WhatsApp?
Apps. That's not the one I use, but
that's not the one.
844-967-2789. I would tell you which encryption app I was on, but you don't need to know. I'm not sending you those messages.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. Let's go to Jim from Whitefish Bay, right down the road from Dom.
Hey, Jim, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm from the neighborhood, and I'm looking out over the east, over Lake Michigan. I don't see anything yet, so I'll report back later.
You stay vigilant, Jim. If you see those balloons, you call us right back, man.
It's a clear, beautiful sky.
Yes, it is.
Hey, I just want to be another cheerleader for civic media and state expansion. I just think that's such a wonderful thing, man. There's so many progressives hiding out in the woods. And, there's that old business adage, don't complain, just do something. And you guys are doing it. And it's the voice of reason going out over the airwaves. Thanks a lot.
Well, I appreciate you call us the voice of reason. I like to think of us as the devil's advocates. So maybe one voice of reason and Dom.
Depends on the day. Hey, Jim, thanks for calling, man. I certainly appreciate it. 844-967-2789. Let's keep going. Dick from Madison, you are next. Welcome, Dick. What do you got?
Hello, Dick.
Hi, guys. CJ, this nonsense that he spews all the time. George W. Bush in 2008 runs the country into totally into the ditch. And then Obama has to clean up everything. But Trump, 25% of the debt in 4 years, you did this? And this clown sits there and talks about they are the fiscal conservatives. I just don't. Where does this happen that somebody could be so misled?
But Dick, let's not heap it all upon the direct actions of the Trump administration. A little bit of credit I will give them in this regard. During the pandemic, the rapidness with which they moved money out into small businesses with the PPP loans. Now, obviously, a lot of corruption happened.
A lot of fraud, sure.
But I don't think the fraud was being
yeah,
perpetrated on the government level. I think it was being perpetrated by individual bad actors, many of whom are being caught and prosecuted.
Like Robin Voss, you mean?
Well, I'm not alleging there was anything wrong with the loan. Understand, the first round of PPP, you really didn't have to prove you needed it. Just, man, the world's coming apart.
I get that.
They were just trying to keep people on the payrolls. But that helped balloon that debt. A pandemic helped balloon that debt. We kept our economy from crashing, and some of that happened under Trump. There were bipartisan plans. And then it was the Democrats that picked up that mantle when Joe Biden moved into office without the support of Republicans. But it racked up a lot of debt, dude. We shut down our whole economy.
Well, but on the other side, guys, had we not done that at all, we would have went into a total free fall collapse, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with you, Dick. Just like I wasn't.
Well, there you go.
I wasn't pissed in 07, 08 when we
watch it collapse.
No, I'm not suggesting we should have. I actually, if you heard me, Dick, I was commending the Trump administration in that regard for starting the ball rolling on some of the small business relief. But I didn't take any great issue under Obama when we propped up General Motors. I did take some issue when we propped up the mortgage industry, the mortgage-backed securities, the Lehman Brothers. When that happened, they jammed billions and billions of dollars. The U.S. government forced some lenders to take liquidity, take money. We are giving you money. What? Yeah, take money. Well, of course, what do? You take money. And we haven't quite unwound from some of those policies yet.
No, when we were talking about the socialist conversation that the Republicans were discussing in their House committees last week, I brought up some of that debt still outstanding from those banks that still owe the American people, the government, billions and billions of dollars. And yet, and again, going to this very issue, I mean, this, yes, it did add to the deficit, no doubt. And did it save the economy? Yeah, probably. But that's the reaction of socialism, isn't it? That's the government printing dollars to do that. It's exactly what they claim they're against. But under their administration, they engaged in that process, rightfully so, and ballooned the debt. How are you going to avoid that? But now not taking any responsibility whatsoever for any of that, just moving along? Come on.
Don't worry, Dom. We'll make it all up on Foxconn. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Happy Friday to us all.
What is the deal with the smart car? Those things are tiny.
I'm so smart. E equals MC squared. I drive a smart car. That's not smart in my book.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
A New York state court already suspended Giuliani's law license.
Yes.
Still a lawyer as of today. During several hours of virtual testimony on Monday and Tuesday, Giuliani pulls back the sleeve and he noted to himself, why, I'm wearing 2 watches. I mean, I've done some absent-minded things, Tom, but I've never in my life worn 2 watches.
Oh, come on, man. He's an attorney. That way you can bill twice as much.
Want even more? Go to our website, civicmedia.us.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Join the conversation with your favorite hosts or shows anytime. Follow Civic Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Share your thoughts on our social media channels wherever you are, whenever you want. The Civic Media network of local radio stations here for you.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Clear skies tonight with a low of 16. Southwest winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Daytime highs approaching 38. Tomorrow, sunny skies and calm. Clear skies and quiet again tomorrow night. Lows level off around 22. Dry with temperatures above average Sunday and Monday, and highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 31 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open, going there next at 844-967-2789. Let's get to Portland, Oregon. PT, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, man. Good.
Hey, good. So I have a grievance of confusion, I guess. With Darrell and Kelly, it sounds like, Crute, you think Kelly is the worst candidate.
Yes.
Is that right?
Let me not confuse you. I think Dan Kelly is a horrible candidate, and therefore I support him to be the conservatives' choice on February 21st. Why do I think he sucks, PT? Because he was already, even with the incumbency of a Scott Walker appointment and getting on the court prior, I mean, he had a 4-year warm-up. Incumbents always win, unless they're contemptuous bastards like Dan Kelly. Guy got smoked in a spring election by 163,000 votes. Hagedorn won his seat by 5,600.
But you saw the Apple on. So you're basing it on history. But
I've met the man.
Apple on Darrell?
I've met the man, PT. I've met the man.
Yeah.
To know
All right.
him is
Well,
to find him contemptuous and not want to vote for the guy.
So I have a little saying for you. You can take PT out of Wisconsin, but you can't take Devil Radio out of PT. Because I am tuned into dialing up your radio station around, I think, 2 o'clock. Is that? Yeah, 2 o'clock here.
Pacific time, yeah, baby. 2 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah.
Leftist coast.
And your app is working swell. Really, really nice. It used to be have a few kinks in it. No more. It's beautiful. So I really enjoy that. Anyways, have a good weekend, guys. All right.
Thanks,
PT,
PT. You
appreciate
too, man.
the kind words. Now we save all the kinky for the host. And I love when people listen to us on the Civic Media app, Dom, because I can kind of sort of keep tabs on them. I am keeping tabs on our audience.
It's kind of
right now.
creepy, man.
Sort of reverse stalkerish, not like specifically. But when you got a guy like PT listing in Portland, right? There's a dot on Portland right now. I can look. So first and foremost, shout out to Victoria, Australia.
All right.
Our most distant listener. Someone's been listening for like 90 minutes or more. Great radio they've enjoyed. And then I saw someone in Wisconsin. I'm like, I'm unfamiliar with that part of Wisconsin. We're from Wisconsin. We originate here. And I don't know every small town, but I start dialing in on this little dot and I see red granite and I keep dialing in and I'm a little concerned. And I'd like to shout out to whoever's listening to us in the bottom of the red granite quarry off Highway 21. I feel like we should send help. Like someone was like out for a jog or, more likely with our audience, maybe walking the dog or something. Dog starts chasing a rabbit. Next thing you know, one of our fans is in the bottom of the red granite quarry right now, Dom. If that is you and you're doing okay, please call us. Otherwise, local authorities in the red granite, Wisconsin area, check on our friend at the quarry. The rest of you, 844-967-2789. We got friends everywhere, Dom. Like to think.
All over the place.
Let's go back to the phones. Why does CJ keep calling us then? I just stumped CJ. Clear it off the line. The guy's wasted my phone lines. Let's go to Terry from Columbia Heights, Minnesota, perhaps listening on 9:50 a.m., the progressive voice of Minnesota, KTNF.
Hey, Terry.
Hi there, Don. And I want to tell you something. I listen to you guys religiously every day. This is the one show that I have to listen to every day. And I just got one question to ask. Could you tell me, is CJ's initials, do they stand for cranky jerk?
It's Clay something, but yeah, it could be.
Yeah, there's also, we could come up with all sorts of things that stands for, Terry. Some of them may not be appropriate for the airwaves.
It's like he gets himself worked up into a lather for radio's sake, you know, because you meet the guy and he's not so bad. He's not so bad.
Well, every time I listen to him, and, you know, if he had an argument that was intelligent, it'd be something. But every time I listen to him, he just, I mean, there's just nothing there. You
Terry,
guys shoot him down every time.
Well, Terry, he might be getting paid by like the local Republican Party. So like he comes and he stirs up our conversation, pulls us away from something more important. And then every time the next caller says CJ, I think he gets like a quarter in his tip cup.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. So, see, that's why I listen to you guys. You can clear things up for me right away. See?
Well, whatever his motive, Terry, it's pretty low rent.
But you guys do a fantastic job, and like I said, I have to listen to you every day.
Well, Terry, you got excellent taste. Apparently,
Thanks, Terry.
every day. That's all we ask. You know, we used to ask about 30% more, but now we just ask 2 hours every day, Monday through Friday.
Yes, we give everybody a break. All you got to do is 2 hours.
If you're not getting all of us in your local market, well, there's a Civic Media app, and we got this new Madison Mad Radio brand. I recommend you listen to us here. That's what all the cool kids are doing. That's the very first one. But you can listen to us all across the network because, Dom, I don't know if we're worldwide, but that dude in Australia thinks we're cool. And so does, I hope, a fine fan in the bottom of the
man. So the app
granite.
though, so you can get on the app and you can pick like which station you want to stream some.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're like WAUK in Waukesha here, you could just click on that, and then that would gauge, that'd be that channel, because there's different programming at different times on different stations.
Yeah,
right?
we got a lot of programming in common, but there are a lot of differentiated programs, and we try to bring local content in each market. And don't forget, tomorrow, man, we got the Cripes Cast rolling out at noon all across the network. And also, first time, if you didn't hear the Grave Digger with our friend Earl Ingram, I got to see a little of it live when they were taping it. It's going to play out tomorrow, 1 o'clock across the Civic Media Network. That and the Raised in the Wisco, those three shows, all worth a listen. Start at 11, then 12, then 1, and then Devil's Advocates again on Monday, 4 to 6. That's all we ask. 2 hours each day.
Your official home of Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, featuring Packers legend Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Saturdays and Sundays at 1 on Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. U.S. officials tell ABC News ground radar spotted a high-altitude object over Alaska airspace last night. The Pentagon's Brigadier General Pat Ryder said once fighter pilots determined it was unmanned, President Biden ordered it shot down.
No indication at this time that it was maneuverable, but again, we'll know more. And in terms of entering the United States, it did enter U.S. airspace, and we took it down.
The U.S. says it was smaller than China's spy balloon shot down last week and have not said if the object belongs to China. President Biden at the White House calling the operation a success. He's meeting with Brazil's newly elected president for talks on expanding trade. The FBI wrapped up its consensual search of the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence today. ABC News has learned federal agents recovered one document with classified markings. The U.S. ramping up humanitarian aid to Turkey and Syria following Monday's earthquake. Total deaths now over 23,000. This is ABC News.
Spending time. Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio. Surprising no one, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson is named as one of the first to testify to the House Republicans' new special committee on conspiracy theories, the deep state, Hunter Biden's laptop, horse dewormer as a COVID treatment, gas stoves, M&Ms, and now Chinese balloons. They actually call the committee something weaponization of the government, but it's really just a way to harass political opponents with flimsy accusations, the stuff of bullies. It's noteworthy that the committee's first meeting occurs on the very anniversary of another shameful moment in Wisconsin Senatehood. It was this week in 1950 when Joseph McCarthy claimed to have a list of communists working in the U.S. State Department. Many lives would be ruined by that Wisconsin senator making up stuff in order to weaponize his political power. Will Ron Johnson see that and say, hold my beer? Follow me on Up North News Radio weekdays 6 to 8 a.m.
The Civic Media team would like to say congratulations. More than 200 Wisconsin businesses and nonprofits are receiving a free advertising campaign through our one-day $1 million advertising giveaway. If you missed out, our local sales team would still love to help you with your own campaign. Go to civicmedia.us and click on the sponsorship tab. Again, civicmedia.us and sponsorship. New and still growing. Advertise today with the Civic Media network of radio stations.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called the sign and had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Right. How many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them.
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it.
So...
You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Over the past 30 years, Chad's Design Build has grown and improved how we do things, but we've never lost sight of our commitment to be a great place to work, focused on quality renovations for outstanding clients. Paying a living wage and providing excellent benefits to promote work-life balance does in fact attract outstanding people, which helps to explain our stellar reputation. Thank you, Madison, for 30 amazing years, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. This is Chad Spate for Chad's Design Build.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday happy hour, rolling through it, taking your Friday grievances right up in here at 844-967-2789. Dom, I got new headlines, but I'm going to jump David from Atlanta heading the line. I tell you, man, they're listing worldwide. Welcome, David.
Hey,
what do you
David.
got for us?
Hey, Peardy. Hey, Don. I just called to, you mentioned that you could see that those people out here listening. I'm actually in Woodstock, Georgia. I'm not in what's-her-name's district.
Good for you.
She's close, though. I think she started in Marietta, and she got kind of booted out with something I was listening to the other day. But she's like near Rome, Georgia. But yeah, no. But I mean, we had the Herschel thing. So I started listening to you guys with WCPT, and then you did this app thing. So yeah, it's groovy. I enjoy the program almost every day.
Dude, I can see you. I see you, man. Not only can I hear you, David, I can see a blue dot on the map kind of outside Atlanta there.
Well, I'm in a park. I walk here every afternoon. It's beautiful.
You're not the guy in the bottom of the quarry in Red Granite, are you?
No. I've seen some of those quarries around here. They're too much. But yeah, no, I'm from Detroit, but I've lived down here for 30 plus years.
I won't hold
David.
I won't hold the Detroit part against you, David.
Oh man, you're my best friend now, David, from Motown. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Hey, David, what the hell's going on in Georgia, dude? I mean, how does Marjorie Taylor Greene? I mean, is it that split up down there? Is it how does she get elected again?
Yeah, no, it's really bad. Like where I live, it's north of Atlanta. It's close to Kennesaw, Marietta. Very, very white, very, totally all Republicans driving these great big huge gigantic pickup trucks, 4-wheel drive, and you see a lot of the idiotic flags, and it's bad around here. You just kind of gotta. I mean, there was a guy at the Kroger the other day. He had a F Biden hat, and he wanted reparations from everybody that something about Biden on his t-shirt. But the hat at the Kroger, I said to my wife, I shouldn't have said something to him. Hey, nice hat. Like I liked his hat just to hear what he had to say. But it's really bad, but you just got to lay low and keep your mouth shut. That the vast majority of people are Republicans.
David.
I mean, go ahead.
Well, I prefer to hear more about your Republican neighbors, but I just wanted to mention, I know that you're on the north side of Central Park, but I actually prefer Renaissance Park there, just down Linden, and then you take the left.
Weird.
That is a little creepy, sort of NSA-like, isn't it, David?
Oh, you can see exactly where I am?
I can. Yes, sir. Well, now that you told me you're at the park, I zoomed in on the park, and I can see you. You're right off Linden Avenue there, sir.
No, it's Town Lake Parkway. You must be over on the other side. Town Lake Park. This is a beautiful development, golf courses, nice homes. I've lived here for, I built my house. I've lived here for a long time. It's a beautiful area. My wife's a teacher. She could walk to school. It's nice. It's nice. Living in Georgia is nice, except for, all the loonies. But, little by little, we're seeing, we got our friend,
Warnock. Yeah, man, you guys have really stepped up, and I look forward to more of Georgia stepping up. Fani Willis, man, district attorney.
Are you in Fulton County, David?
Fulton County. I mean, what are your thoughts there, man? What are people saying?
I don't really, talk to many people, but I try not to bring it up amongst people because I'm an independent contractor, and I can't be, getting involved, because occasionally I do slip and say something, and I open up a can of worms. I'm like, oh damn, so I got to back off, and pretend like, it's not that bad, yeah, right, go out and cute, but it's like, it's crazy. I mean, I have very intelligent, very wealthy people that that vote for, well, obviously Kemp, because these people are like, what's the thing, one heartbeat away, not heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? There's a phrase, I can't think of it. I'm off.
David, let me ask you one quick question. Do you perceive yourself to be really good at what you do?
Yeah.
Then let your freak flag fly, baby, man. Let the chips fall. If you're good at what you do professionally, you shouldn't have to worry about your personal ideology. And I know that's a thing.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not going to.
I used to work in mortgage banking with a bunch of Republicans, dude, and I was the only blue guy in the office, and I never forgot who I was. You got to be proud of being the only sane one on the block.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a law firm, and somehow they caught wind, and they were talking about, oh yeah, they start talking about guns and stuff like that, and they knew, they knew, obviously my political leanings, and like every time I showed up at this law firm, they'd be, oh yeah, they'd bring something up, and it's indefensible, and it's insulting to somebody that actually thinks about stuff. Me.
Yeah.
Well,
I
see, David, I didn't factor in that you might actually want to have gainful employment in the future in the prior advice I gave you, sir.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but I mean, it's all good. I mean, I think little by little, because they're so outrageous on the other side, people are like, these guys are ridiculous. I mean, like, what did you see just yesterday or whatever with Boebert and, yelling at the Twitter people? She sounded like a high school kid.
Larry the Cable Guy said she sounded like a crazy ex-girlfriend heckling, like the comedian on stage, but like the ex-girlfriend's there. And David, thank you so much for listening to what some describe as the greatest radio show ever. Tell your friends around the Atlanta area, and then you got some cover. Then I don't know which dot is you. Don't keep us a secret. Tell people.
Tell your Republican friends, man. We'll take all callers. We'll convert them. We'll help you, David.
We got people listening down in like Gainesville, Florida, all across the Texas. You know, it's wonderful to see all the little dots. We're growing down. We're like a fungus growing across the nation.
That's one way to
We're
look at it.
spreading.
Pardon me.
Well, I'd like to think good ideas spread.
Well, I mean, sure, the truth helps. Some fun conversation, a little banter here and there. I think that certainly helps. But you got to be of the mindset to want to hear something different. I mean, if you're in your silo and you're the Fox Newsy, and you got your money, you got your place, and you got your pad, and you're comfortable, and you don't think about other people, other things. The empathy maybe isn't there, or the experience isn't necessarily there. You're maybe apt to stay in those lanes. But sometimes life gives you a jerk, and it pulls you off your lane, and it forces you to see other things. And I think that's a nice thing about it. I mean, if you think you got it all figured out, what's life worth living? You keep on rolling, man. You got to learn new things, experience new things, travel a bit, man. You start seeing different cultures. Read, what is it? Reading and traveling. It'll cure the racism, right? It'll cure those things. But if you never leave the 3-county area, and you're married to your second cousin, it's going to be a little tough, I think.
I got family down in Thomasville, Georgia. That's down on the state line, kind of across the border from Gainesville, Panhandle area. Georgia, I'm sure it's lovely. Never been. Well, I've been there.
I used to drive through all the time. I've had a couple of flights in Atlanta, layovers. When the kids were younger, we used to go to Florida for the spring break, and one time we got stranded with the plane thing. So like, hell with this, and you get little kids in the airport, it was just terrible. So we're like, what, next year we're driving. So for years we would just drive down to Florida. I did it as a kid. I'm a road warrior, so it's not a terrible thing for me. But I always remember like driving. I think it was from Georgia going south on like 75, getting into Florida, and you see this. Pardon me. You see this big ass Confederate flag. And it was just, huge, like the one they got up here at the insurance company up in Sheboygan, a big Confederate flag.
In Sheboygan?
No, down in Florida, northern Florida. And so, that's, obviously very prevalent down there. I did see, to bring that up, the guy the insurrectionist who walked through the Capitol with the Confederate flag got sentenced to what, 3 years?
3 years,
I believe it was.
baby.
Yeah, 3 years. Now that guy actually took that Confederate flag, and apparently, according to the prosecution, was like jabbing the cops with the pole as a weapon with the Confederate flag. Apparently, he didn't consider the negative racism connotation that came along with carrying the Confederate flag. I guess he just thought it was like the General Lee, and he was just a rebel.
States' rights guy.
Yeah.
Many good people on both sides.
Not so much.
Speaking of the former president, Dom, of course, this is the big Super Bowl weekend. Maybe it's why I'm feeling a little less political, a little more lighthearted. Although I might be traveling this weekend. We'll see. A little work travel, perhaps. But who's doing a little Friday afternoon quarterbacking? Why, it's former President Donald Trump.
Oh no.
And he's not attacking the teams about to contest on the field. He's not attacking the Eagles or the Chiefs. He's going after Rihanna. Probably because she's black.
Right, and female. Uh-huh.
So, two of his favorite things, black female. Here is the headline at The Hill. This one merited coverage at thehill.com. Trump attacks Rihanna ahead of the Super Bowl. Without her stylist, she'd be nothing. No, more ironic words have never been spoken. This guy, have you looked in the mirror, sir? We talk about the fact he projects, but Rihanna's got real talent. She's got Grammys. Rihanna can sing her ass off. You, President Trump, just have a really bad.
No, remember as towards the end of the 2020 election when he was starting to freak out on stage and he started doing his little dances. You remember that weird Trump dance thing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So strange.
Well, it's very similar to every white stepdad you ever saw chaperoning the middle school dance, Tom.
Daddy-daughter dance.
Trump's post, apparently Trump posting against Rihanna, Trump's post came in response to a post on social media from Rep. Ronnie Jackson. How the hell did that guy go from being the White House physician to President Barack Obama to declaring, didn't he declare Trump like fittest president ever
of all time? Was that him? I don't remember now.
He might have fallen after, but I mean, I thought they called him like Dr. Feelgood at the White House, Tom. And then he got elected as a Republican rep from Texas. But if you're comparing the health profiles of Barack Obama, who I understand, Tom, occasionally sneaks a cigarette, and Donald Trump, come on, man. Come on. Anyways, Rihanna and Trump have clashed before. She won a legal victory over Trump in 2018 when her performing rights company, Broadcast Music Incorporated, informed the then president he could no longer use her music at his rallies. So he was just, appropriating her music. And she wanted to, she just said, stop, cease and desist. After a Washington Post reporter tweeted that her music was blaring at a rally in Tallahassee, Rihanna responded, not for much longer. Me nor my people would ever be at or around one of those tragic rallies. Wish we could say the same, Dom.
I know you keep dragging me to them. A crudy little flashback. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, the presidential physician, gushed about Trump's health during a briefing at the White House, touting the president's good genes, how he did exceedingly well on his cognitive test, and his excellent cardiac health.
Man, woman, camera,
television,
devil's advocates. Come back with us. Last segment for your grievances. Dial them up. 844-96-PARTY.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Dominic, if you're going to correct me, do it on the radio for the world to hear you. You're correcting my enunciation.
Pseudonym. That's a silent P, like psycho. See how I do it?
You ever mispronounce a word, your wife or maybe a buddy feels like they got to correct you? If they don't teach you how to say the word right, their day is not complete. When I come over to bust your ass, you're going to play opossum.
Now join us anytime. Go to civicmedia.us.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows level off around 16 tonight. Under clear skies, winds out of the southwest 5 to 10 miles an hour. Bright sunshine tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 38. Clear skies and quiet again tomorrow night. Lows level off around 22. Partly cloudy Sunday. Decreasing clouds by Monday. Upper 30s Sunday. Low 40s by Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 31 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of this gorgeous Friday. You can be a part 844-967-2789.
Tom, as I'm checking up on our audience listening to us on the Civic Media app, you know, like a stocky neighbor asked you out once, you said no, and he kept peering through his windows every time you left the house. I'm that guy right now, Dom. I got to tell you, I'm concerned about another one of our audience members. So I'm seeing another Dotton, Wisconsin, unfamiliar place. I'm like, what's up there? Oxford, Wisconsin. Seems quite nice. Wisconsin Highway 82 runs through it, kind of going east-west. And there's a little round lake called Oxford Lake. And about 40 feet, maybe 100 feet from shore, I'm not sure how big Oxford Lake is, there's a dot that would seem to indicate somebody's listening to us in Oxford Lake.
Well, maybe they're doing a little ice fishing, man.
Maybe somebody lost their cell phone down a walleye hole. If you are out ice fishing on Oxford Lake, either call us or text us, please, at 844-967-2789. Make sure you assure our audience you're on the correct side of the ice. I'm a little worried, man. We got a guy in the quarry in Red Granite and somebody in the lake in Oxford.
We just have very adventuresome listeners, man.
They take us with the Civic Media app.
One more headline, then back to the phones, 844-96-PARTY. Crudy, Raw Story reporting a January 6th rioter who became famous for posting video footage of himself smoking a joint on the Capitol steps has demonstrated a complete lack of remorse for his actions. Federal prosecutors allege in a memo asking the court to sentence him to more than 2 months in prison as evidence. They cited
what's the crime? Is it the weed smoking or being on the Capitol steps?
Yeah, he was the rioter. He was one of the rioters. He was charged illegally entering a restricted building, disorderly conduct, impeding government business, disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, unlawful picketing, and obstruction of Congress. He pled not guilty in April of 21, but accepted a deal. Apparently, they want to do like 2 months. But as their evidence of him showing a complete lack of remorse, Crudy, they look at his, they cited his Facebook post in the aftermath of the attack. I'm damn proud I was there, the post read. For those of you calling for an investigation, why don't you try investigating these nuts with your chin? So, asking
the
for...
ever clever these nuts. Oh, jeez.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That sounded... No remorse, Tom. No regret.
No, I think there's no remorse there.
So what do you think? What could he be subject to? What could be? You know what I mean? Like if he's not getting the 2 months, they're getting 2 years.
No, I think they're asking for the 2 months. There's apparently a deal going on here, and part of that deal is the 2 months. So we'll see.
Let's go to the phones. We'll see who's there at 844-967-2789. That guy's still in the lake at Oxford, Dom. Rico from Rock County, man. Stay off the ice.
What's up, Rico?
Oh, the only ice is in my glass, man.
It's the happier happy hour at Rico's house.
Yeah. Hey, we need guys, I think we need a balloon committee. I think we got to have a balloon. We need a balloon committee. And for once, I kind of agree with CJ. You know what? Biden is brilliant. He not only pulled that brilliant okey doke on him on the Social Security issue, he kind of let a little something slip, CJ. It's 2023. Let's think about 2033. Do you think, just think for a little bit here, CJ, I'm only asking for a few seconds of your time. Do you think electric cars might have figured into that tenure and maybe Joe just kind of let that cat out of the bag? Just think about it. That's just food for thought, something for you to chew on tonight while you're sitting there in the basement, Just wonder if 10 years from now the electric cars don't make a difference. And he did walk the statement back too, by the way. He did. Well,
it's an observational criticism. I get it. I thought it was perhaps more of a slip, but 10 years. I mean, some of these major auto companies are dedicating themselves that within 10 years are going to move away from internal combustion engines.
Dom, you missed the point. And at the time, in real time, I'm like, oh, that's a gaffe, Joe. That's not the first Joe Biden gaffe, but don't argue with the Republicans over the viability of the Green New Deal through the concept of 10 more years of oil and petrol production, right? Because I'm like, oh, man, 10 years. Stop arguing that fight. Stop fighting that fight, right?
Right. Well,
and then
not in that
3
way,
times he went back to that. He was baiting them down. I didn't see it in real time. But after the fact, in retrospect, by the time they got to the Social Security argument, right? They were ready. They were ready to call Joe Biden a liar. They wanted to call Joe Biden a liar. And then he pulled him in. He already had him in his clutches. And then he all, in unison, made the entire Republican caucus stand up and celebrate his recently found advocacy to never cut Social Security or Medicare. I think it was brilliant, dude. That was
glorious. It was glorious.
That might have been Joe's best. I told you, I got a Republican buddy, very political, who said that was the most strategic thing he has ever seen. Giving Joe Biden a hell of a lot of credit, more than you ever do.
Well, I mean, yes, but good credit goes to Joe Biden, no doubt. But I mean, look at the people he played. I mean, we were talking about it before. Do you think they're going to be hooting and hollering? I mean, this was a hooting and hollering crowd, man. It wasn't. I don't think as hard as it normally would have been to pull people into such a game.
I bet they were playing a little three card Monty in the back. 844-967-2789. Some of the last grievances of the day. Our pal Wisco Paul. He's got a moniker. Welcome, Paul. What do you got for us?
Hey, Paulie.
Hey, good afternoon, Devils. Nice show today.
Not a great show, just sort of a fair to middling, mailed it in kind of show.
Nice, nice. It was nice. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was nice.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go with that. Hey, the GOP is never happy. They're never happy about anything. Hey, but I got a quick one. I know you guys talked about it several months ago, but my grievance is against Merrick Garland not taking on the Trump conviction or whatever himself and hiring a special prosecutor to do it. The man's running for president again, for goodness sakes, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I don't know what's the deal with Merrick Garland.
Hang on now, Paul. Let me talk you off the ledge here. We only got a few seconds left. Come on, man. Jack Smith laying the lumber down. We announced it yesterday. Former Vice President Pence, he's going to be under oath. He's subpoenaed. I mean, that's like the last guy you talk to before you make a decision to potentially indict.
Dominic, the relaunch, like a phoenix from the ashes, outside the pizza box, coming up at 7 o'clock, originating right here from WMAD. No, that's not us. WMDX, Mad Radio, and Native Roots Radio. Don't forget, Charlie Barron's and the Gravedigger, noon and 1 o'clock, Saturday. Keep it locked. Civic Media.
Hey, we got a big Wisconsin Supreme Court race this spring, and whoever wins will have a huge say over your freedom to vote, your freedom to make healthcare decisions, your freedom to have fair representation. So please listen to the advice from Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez of our Milwaukee Bucks, and make sure